joined with Dan Symons from C3 Metals here at the Beaver Creek Precious Metals Summit. Dan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having me.
So, Dan, you guys are in the copper gold exploration arena, we'll say. And I think that it'd be good to maybe talk a little bit about copper prices. I imagine you do pay attention to the macro. And
yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, I have to say, I was coming down here, I thought that the buzz was going to be about silver. And I'm finding a lot of people are talking about how they're bullish on copper.
Yeah, I think when we look at the general supply demand fundamentals in copper, that looks pretty bullish as we head into the late stages of next year in 2026, and the market obviously likes to get ahead of that. Also, when you see on the macro level, when you see big companies like BHP making bids for Anglo, that's would have secured 10% of the global supply if they had been successful with that bid. When you see BHP and Lundin Mining making a joint bid and acquiring Filo de Sol in Argentina for 4.5 billion Canadian dollars, and then you think about the incremental capital that's going to be billions of dollars to build that, the incentive pricing to make that economic is much higher than we are today, and that's really bullish when you see the biggest companies that are producing the most copper in the world make these calls.
So let's talk about C3 Metals. We've had you guys on our show in the past, but for people who are new to the story, what's the high-level overview of the company?
High-level overview, we have two district-scale properties, 300 square kilometers in southern Peru, where we're within 45 kilometers of the MMG's Las Bambas mine, Hudbay's Constancia and Papa Concha mines. Glencore is operating further to the southeast. Hudbay and Rio Tinto are all around our borders on a very big land package there, where we have our initial resource on the first of 15 targets that we've tested, where we have 52 million tons of 0.5% copper right at surface. And then we're the first mover in Jamaica, which is something that we like to educate the market on as a jurisdiction and the opportunity, where we're the first movers in Jamaica. We picked up the prime ground, and now Barrick Gold announced in May they've come in and they essentially surround us now on a much bigger footprint. So being the first mover, we feel like we have a competitive advantage there.
So what do the current exploration plans in Jamaica look like?
Yeah, so we've just come off of a program where we were testing multiple porphyries in Jamaica. We've confirmed porphyry clusters over 4 kilometers of an 18-kilometer strike extent, where we have over 12 porphyry prospects. What we were drilling into is on a copper equivalent basis about 0.6 near surface, so a lot of 0.4 copper, 0.2 gold over broad widths, 200-300 meters. So we know the grades there that's equivalent with existing mines today. Now it's about building tonnages. Also in Jamaica, we've partnered with Geophysics Jamaica, which is a private company that's the largest mineral tenure holder in Jamaica. And with that, we're after a high-grade epithermal gold system that was a past-producing gold mine that closed in 2004, but was 20 grams per ton. We think we have a 4-kilometer strike extent there, so we're going to be doing some work around that with an initial program as well.
How close are we to an initial resource estimate?
Yeah, so I think for us, realistically, we'd like to get through another phase of drilling through the first part of next year, and we may be able to get something out towards the latter half of next year, but it's all dependent on results and what we see, and you got to make those calls of, do you want to do another phase or just go for it. Because we're so prospect rich with 16 porphyry and 40 epithermal targets over a 30-kilometer strike extent, it's about right now doing systematic exploration and getting a couple holes into multiple targets and then saying, okay, what looks the most fertile, and then starting to hit those areas harder.
So what can you tell us about Jamaica as a mining jurisdiction?
Yeah, it's a really good question. A lot of people don't realize that mining's the number 2 industry in the country and has been for decades. Jamaica is one of the world leaders in bauxite mining, and there's an aluminum refinery right in the country. So that industry, there's 5 big bauxite operations that's been going for over close to 75 years. The mining law has been in place since 1947. The Mining Act, based off British law, is a former Commonwealth. And it's been very well adhered to. So there's good government motivation today because the bauxite industry has been going for such a long period of time. Reserves have not been replaced here recently, and the Ministry of Mines points out to us that one of their mandates is diversify the mineral sector and mining sector into other minerals, where they've identified copper, gold, silver, primarily through Jamaican Geologic Survey. And that's really what attracted us to the area, to come in an underexplored area. And really, you know, Barrick Gold coming in, you don't need to take my word for it. Mark Bristow said himself, right in the press release when they announced it in a quote, that it's a very similar geologic setting to what they see in the Dominican Republic, where they operate the Pueblo Viejo mine, which is a world-class mine producing over 700,000 ounces of gold annually with a copper byproduct.
How supportive is the government? Very
supportive. I mean, if anything, we need to work hard to educate the government just how long that it takes to properly develop an economically viable resource, and the amount of time and capital commitment that takes, because you know, they're very keen to see development move forward, particularly where we are. We're in the center of the island, and it's a more economically depressed part of the country. And it's a lot of subsistence type farming, and there's been a view of how do we open that up economically for years in the country, and we have an opportunity, just even through our drill programs, the economic stimulus that goes through that area is felt in a very, very big way.
What can you tell us about your cap table? Where's most of the money been raised at? I see you guys are trading around 32 cents at the time of filming. What can you tell us?
Yeah, so we're sitting with 61.9 million shares outstanding, no warrants. We've been managed to keep the cap structure very clean. The bulk of our investment has been going into what we've been doing in Jamaica with the recent rounds of drilling. Although just in August, we announced in Peru, we'd been working for quite some time on an agreement with a local indigenous community where we had the mineral rights and the community had the surface rights. And we now have that agreement in place, and it looks like there's some low-hanging fruit there. So we are going to start pushing a little bit more investment that way as well, because it looks like a Las Bambas type target, which is a world-class mine only 45 kilometers away. It looks very similar from the geologic setting, so we'll start making some more investment there as well.
What should investors be watching out for over the remainder of the year?
Yeah, I think, you know, we're going to have our first pass, some surface work done on this new target we call the Khaleesi project in southern Peru, and I think people should be watching for that, as well as watching for what we're doing in Jamaica, both on the porphyry side, on that 18-kilometer strike extent, as well as the high-grade epithermal gold side. You know, we're copper-focused, but when we had an opportunity to gain exposure to a mine that only operated for 2 years and that was pumping at 20 grams per ton, it's hard to ignore that when it's right next door. So now we're partnered in on that, and we're looking forward to our first phase program there.
Well, Dan, thanks for doing this, and I hope you have a lot of success over the remainder of the conference.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Steve.